This is part 2 of the love, sex, and relationships conversation. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1. It was really great. So this is the final part of the love, sex, and relationship conversation. I was joined by 5 individuals from across the country, trans-identified men of color. We even had one person join us from the UK. We talked about non-monogamy, kink and trans, male dominance. We talked about love after transitioning. We also discussed being in a gay relationship, gay sex, the BDSM community in the UK, Black Kingsters. We talked about a lot of stuff, y'all. This is a really good episode. Some of the guests is Dallas Martinez, Amari Leach. This was a really good episode. Part 2, the final episode of Love, Sex, and Relationship Conversation. I hope you enjoy. Hello, I'm your host, Sean Aaron, and welcome to Them Boys Inc. podcast. This show is a platform where trans men of color voices can be amplified as we share our transitional stories and many other issues that are relatable to trans men of color and our existence. This show is not only to amplify our voices, but to raise awareness and conversation around our lived experiences. I want to ask you, because you are older person, like what is your perspective as an older person when it comes to, I won't say older person, but older than some of us are when it comes to sex and love and relationships?
Well, I tell you one thing, right? Like, I'm super thankful that I'm not in that I didn't have to navigate trying to find a person or a relationship when I was starting my transition, right? Because I see a lot of, in my opinion, right? I feel like that I've seen a lot of people treating us like we're like this three-headed unicorn type of deal. And so they seek to have not necessarily relationships with us, but more like relations with us. And then after that has fizzled or went on, then they go on, right? And I think that also in my transition, then as far as my relationship, and like Dallas was saying, I have to say that my relationship changed because I had changed, but I was very grateful that I have a partner that was willing to change with me, or was already changing with me, because I mean, I was changing. Yeah, so that's really been my thing. Like I've been in some groups and stuff, and I see the conversations that go on, and for me, I think that a lot of times while we're trying to navigate these new feelings, these new bodies, are trying to figure out what it is we like, don't like, maybe I still like, maybe I didn't ever like, those kind of things, that we sometimes end up in situations that don't serve us well. I also think that there's also a lot of negative thoughts to us as it pertains to sex. A lot of people say that that's all we're into. It's sort of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, just speaking for how I feel about it, it's sort of like um that heterosexual negative talk that you hear about cisgender men. I hear a lot of that same type of um conversation directed at trans men. Like, all we want to do is have sex. We jump in and out of relationships. Um, we we don't know what we want, or we're volatile from this point to the next point, those type of things, right? And so um I really don't know at this age, because started transitioning later, that if I would be able to navigate the relationship waters and come out on the other side of that um in a better mind frame, as opposed to being kind of lost in those waters.
So
Mm,
you saying if you had transitioned earlier, you think
hmm
the dating world would be different for you than you transitioning now later in life? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it would have been different for me if I had a transition early. I think I would. I don't think it would have been different. I think it's the same, but I think that I would have handled it differently. Like, I don't think I would have been. Um, I don't think I would have had the tools to navigate it maturely.
I got you. So I
Okay.
think it also is about giving yourself some grace because nobody really got to figure it out, right? We move
Right.
and navigate through life based on what we hear, what we see, or what we ask people or whatever. You don't really know until you try things and you figure it out and you say, well, this is what's good for me. And nah, I don't want none of that, but I'll take a little bit of that. So I think it's about trial and error. Me personally, I don't necessarily believe that it has anything to do with age. I transitioned later in life too. I transitioned when I was in my 30s. And I wish I would have done it early only because I wish I would have started earlier. I think I would have had way more fun when I was in my 20s than, 30s and 40s. But I
Definitely.
think that it's different. It's all about, but now I'm getting more into learning more about myself because I tried a few things and I'm like, okay, yeah, I like that. And I don't like that. So I don't think to me personally it has anything to do with age. I think it's about experience and how much you're willing to risk and take risk and finding out more about yourself.
But I
I'll,
think when I was younger, I would have. I definitely would have took more risks when I was younger. I took a lot of risks when I was younger, because, like, if I had the language that I have now, like, if I had been around the community then when I was younger, I think that I would have took more risk, because I was at that age where I don't care. I'm just, so I don't do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it, as opposed to now that I'm older, I think more. I think before I do something, right? I don't, because now it's about, or it was about, it's no longer about that, but it was for a while about, well, if I do this, how will this person feel? Or how will my kids feel about this? And it's less about, when I was younger, I didn't have those people that I felt responsible for how they felt about things, as opposed to being older and having these people that I feel responsible for. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
I tend to date older people. I'm 30. Um, but I'm also curious about space and how that changes. Obviously, as we all age, responsibilities change, commitments change. But I'm 30 and I don't want to be on the apps.
Mm.
So it's just like, where are the spaces for trans people to meet in person? I feel like those spaces become few and far between the older we get. Like, I don't want to be in club spaces anymore. Where are the sober spaces, the spaces for us just to connect and build community, friendship, but also where the spaces for desire for trans people, for Black queer people. I find still quite hard. I don't know. Again, in the States, if that's any different or there are more spaces around, but there's not much going on here.
I
Yeah.
will say that those apps are a little grimy. I was just talking about to somebody the other day. I'm like, people some weirdos. I don't mean to say it like that, but like people say some weird shit via the app. I don't know what that's about. And I feel you. I'm like, I don't want to be 45, 50 years old trying to, weed through all this craziness of the folks on the apps. And I try to find people who are conscious of what they want. I don't really want somebody that's going to ask me 15 questions about my body. I want someone that's already confident about what they're looking for in another person and are strong in their identity as a gay man or even as a cisgender woman, and they know what they want and what they like, and they don't have to ask me so many questions in order for us just to get to know each other.
I think going back to the question that kind of led us into this, if we felt like, were we ever going to be able to be loved? Were people ever going to see us for who we are? Will we have successful relationships? I think the prior me, before my current relationship, I sabotaged every single relationship. And that all boiled down to insecurity about who I was, how I carried myself. And every person that I was with prior was with cis men. So that's what I was measuring myself up against. And would I ever be good enough? And so for a long time, I had that despair and I struggled with it. And so I sabotaged every relationship that I had. I just ruined it. And there were some really good people that I was connected with. So it's unfortunate. I've had to make amends since then. But, now I'm in this current relationship. I can't say that anxiety and that insecurity that I lived with my whole life just withers away because of, this one magical person that I'm with. That's not how it goes, right? Like it's constant work in progress. It's an evolution, and I'm always having to work on reminding myself that I'm worthy and I am deserving of love and affection and nurture and touch, and to be validated. That's going to be an everyday struggle. I mean, it's just too many years of being alienated, too many years of being the only one to not feel that way. So I think that's what I wanted to speak on. And then as far as just like, I do consider myself an older person compared to a lot of other, queers that are in some of the circles that I run in. I'll be 41 in November. And so I am an elder in a lot of spaces, and I'm always up for questions, concerns, anything people want to throw my way and give feedback just as far as my experience. Because I know that there's not enough of us out there to be that support role. So it's hard to talk about sex, love, and relationships to begin with. But adding on all of these intersectionalities, it kind of we kind of turn into these mythical creatures, right? It's like there's not enough of us out there gathering in spaces or connecting with younger folks to be that support and to talk about these things. So I would say it's important for us to keep having these conversations, airing this shit out, and making sure we're showing people that we are out there. You can tap us for support. But I would say, what has been the most encouraging has always been looking to my elders and finding safe spaces. I know out here in Seattle, there's a lot of like groups that start out on social media. I know it's really easy to demonize social media because it can get dark and scary real fast. But also like there's some beautiful pieces that have come out of it. We do things like we got a queer trans POC outing group that does like hiking, outdoor activities, camping. We got a Seattle trans, there's like a Seattle trans social network, and they do picnics. They do like a day at the beach. Granted, Seattle's a very white city, right? So like to throw in that you're BIPOC, it gets a little complicated. But I feel like if we keep showing up to these events, that representation is super important. That visibility is super important for those younger generations coming up behind us. So that's why I keep showing up, like white or not. Like I'm gonna be there. And and I'm going to try to like tap as many people as I can to show up, because I know somebody's looking, and I know somebody wants to see themselves in somebody that's older, that is making it, that's getting through the muck, that had the trials and tribulations, and that is still here, because a lot of us don't make it, right? Like we know the reality about suicide rates, domestic violence, people just dying at the hands of fucking nonsense, the hatred out in the world. We're targets to a lot of people. So I think being out there, being visible, taking from your elders, but then remembering to give back when it's your turn. That would be what I would have to say.
Would you consider that some advice?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm 41 years old and I don't want to be an elder. I'm not ready. So you can have that title. I'm just not ready. I need a couple more years to get ready. I'm not ready yet. Hey, this is Sean Aaron, the host of Them Boys Podcast. Are you enjoying the podcast so far? Great. I'm glad that you are. Would you consider donating today to help support the continuation of this podcast? As you know, this podcast aims to serve as a platform to highlight and amplify the voices of trans men of color and share our transition stories. The podcast not only aims to amplify trans men of color voices, but it also raises awareness around our lived experiences. You would like to donate? Where can you donate? Great. I'm glad that you asked. Link in our description will take you directly to Network for Good, whom we've partnered with in order to collect donations for the podcast. Or you can visit our website. On the website, click the donate button, and from there, you are able to donate directly to the podcast. All donations are tax deductible. What does the donations go to? Oh, I'm glad that you asked. Your donation will help to support our production costs. We are working with Jasmine from Pink Lady Productions that brings you this awesome content. And also, we pay our guests an honorarium. Pay our guests an honorarium? Yes, we do. Why? Because as trans men of color, we would like to support and uplift each other and honor the time that's given out to come here and share their stories. So if you love this podcast, share and donate. See you on the next episode. Take care. So, is there anything that anybody else would like to bring up that we haven't mentioned?
I wanted to add to what Dallas was saying. Being in Seattle, I know about the Seattle picnics and the outings and everything like that. It is very much so, I feel out of place being a Black trans male here. It's definitely, I don't feel, it's different coming from the South, that togetherness and all of that. I don't feel that here, and with the white organizations, I've even experienced racism with one, you know what I'm saying? And how they abused because they were in a position of power. And I'm like, well, you're sitting in the position of power because of the fight and the sacrifices my ancestors made for you to have that space to sit on and be able to do what you're doing. Someone gave their life. Someone was on the front lines for you. And for you to disrespect their descendant like that and try to, make me feel more of an outcast, it was just mind blowing to me. So I do believe in having more conversations like this, showing up. And I didn't let that stop me. Like I refuse. I'm way too strong for that. You know what I'm saying? Like to keep showing up, keep showing that power, you know what I'm saying? And that we can't be silenced, and to really show the difference of someone coming from the South and coming here and realizing like, hey, there's not a lot of people like me. Everybody's just different. Where do I fit in as a Black man, as a trans man? Like, where is a safe space for me? And that's why I created my own, business and my own platform so that I could just say, hey, you know what? Whatever I'm not seeing, I'm just going to do and create myself. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to have my own following and stand strong on my own power and let everyone just attract that support, because I know that, like you said, Dallas, there's people out there. Somebody's listening. Somebody needs it. So I definitely feel you on that. And I wanted to add a little bit about the relationship part. I think insecurity was a huge thing for me. I also was connected to some wonderful, wonderful women that changed my life. I couldn't get out of my own way with my insecurities and wanting to be seen as a cis male, wanting to feel strictly as a cis male, especially with sex. It was always pleasing for her, but for me, I'm like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm fighting that inside of I wish this, you know what I'm saying? I wish this was different. I wish I could actually feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a struggle. And coming from a dysfunctional family, having to work through those feelings, having to grow, and then trying to decide the type of man that I wanted to be and what being a man looked like and felt like to me. And I damaged a lot of relationships. I damaged myself until I did the inner work, until I decided, because you have to be an elder to your inner child as well, because you can't forget that. And I forgot the most important part of me, which was my inner child, because I completely blacked it out. I'm like, I don't want to think about it. I hated that time of my life. That's not who I am, but I can never, like, gender, that doesn't matter. That's who I am. You know what I'm saying? And to leave a small part of you behind that you can't evolve fully because you're not together fully. So when I finally decided to save myself, I said, okay, I have to go out here in the world and save people like me. Because when I was younger, my voice was taken from me. I felt like I couldn't speak. I didn't have, strong friends, strong family. I was a loner. You know what I'm saying? And then dealing at that time with, having to identify as lesbian and stud. And I hated those terms. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, that's not who I am. So I was in a constant battle with myself and running from myself until I got in tune and was like, okay. And my last relationship really shaped me because I hurt her. And I put a lot of the work I needed to do on myself onto her. And it wasn't her job. She couldn't save me. You know what I'm saying? That job was strictly up to me. And I told myself, I don't want to be with anybody else until it starts with me, and because I believe in looking to your elders. You know what I'm saying? I'll be 28 in November. So I'm getting up there, but I'm not quite, there. I'm still learning. But trauma has aged me. Mentally, I feel 50. Mentally, I'm like, man, I've been through so much in my life. But now I'm feeling like a kid again. I'm being creative. I'm tapping into things that I forgot about because I completely left that side of my life in the past. And when I revisited that, everything changed for me. So I definitely agree with you, Dallas and EL, about that.
That was so powerful what you just said. I want to take back. I want to be an elder now. Because what you just said, you be an elder to your younger self. Yo, I need that. Like I'm always talking about having compassion for my younger self and showing my younger self some grace because I went through a lot of shit. And so I want to be an elder, not to nobody else. I just want to be an elder to myself. That's it. So don't nobody in the street, don't call me no damn elder. We gonna fight. But I'm gonna be an elder to my younger self. That was so good. I like that. So does anybody have any advice to somebody listening? And I know Dallas, you talked about hurting people in your past. Amara, you said the same thing. You hurt people in your past because you wasn't healed and you hadn't done the work. And I know for sure I hurt some people in my past, including my ex-wife that I just separated from because I just couldn't get my shit together. And so would you have any advice to somebody that's saying, hey, I'm moving right now, and I think I'm in the process of hurting somebody right now. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody in that current situation?
I think that the one thing that we all must realize, and I put myself in that as well, is that at some point in time, if we're growing and we're moving and we're evolving exactly the way we're supposed to, then there's always going to be somebody who knows a former version of ourselves that no longer exists. And that's the only thing that they're going to be able to relate to because they don't know you past that point. And this happens so often especially within relationships. In relationships, we are always constantly evolving and changing. At least we should. Some don't, whatever. But as you evolve, so does how you interact within the relationship, how you connect to the relationship, how you connect to the other person who's in the relationship with you, however many people that may, be. And if it's getting to the point where, at least for me, where you about to start some shit without even really trying and hurting someone that you don't want to hurt. It sounds very oversimplified, but I'm going to say it anyway. look at yourself first and where that is coming from. Is your hurting that person wanting to do with something as a reaction to something that they said or did? Or is it something that has to do with you and no one else? Because sometimes we hurt people for our bullshit, right? Sometimes we hurt people because, you know, of what we heard or how we felt or how we responded. And it has absolutely nothing to do with anyone else. But still, we will level a whole city block, and burn up some real good folks who don't deserve it, right? I've done it. I did it with my last relationship. Somewhat, I've learned to look at it now as something of a blessing in disguise, because it was like through that pain and me sort of being sabotaged, that's when I was really shown exactly who I would be appending my life for and making all of these changes. And it was almost like, you know, God was just like, you are too dumb to figure this out. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to hurt your feelings and show you exactly what it is. And so, do I apologize to that person? Yeah, sure. But do I forgive them? Still working on that. But how that's carried into the relationship that I have now is the sense of knowing when to stand up for yourself and take true hold of your passions and your goals that you have for yourself that you had before you got into the relationship. Things, because we compromise, and compromise is great, but sometimes we give away so much of ourselves till we're nothing. But the relationship is great, and so are they. And the worst part is that they never asked us to do it. That's the worst, because you can't go back and blame them and say, oh, it's your fault that I haven't moved. No, it's not. It's not. They never required that at all. Matter of fact, they've been waiting on you to make your next move and your best move and your big move for yourself. So it's a really hard pill to swallow sometimes when people, it's a really hard pill to swallow sometimes when we get angry with our partners and we want to inflict pain on them, because it's so easy to blame someone else outside of ourselves. And usually the first person we're going to blame is the person who is the closest to us, which is usually our partner, our spouse, or, however you choose to identify that. But it is so much even more difficult to say, I'm the problem, because that hurts even more than say, because you can attach it to somebody else real easy. But when it's you, you're like, well, how can that be? I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all of these other things. But sometimes it's just you. And to be able to realize that for yourself, yeah, it takes work, and no, by no means is it easy, but it is absolutely going to help you grow, help you heal, and help you to have a better relationship, and help you to have a more productive relationship and a more efficient relationship and all of those other things. It's pretty much summed up in one word: accountability. The minute you can start being held accountable, you can start holding yourself accountable and not expect anybody else to do it for you when you can catch it on your own. Because Amari is right. It's not up to them. It's us. It's our stuff. And we should not go to our partners to try to fix us, for lack of a better term. That's us. They can hold our hand and support us while we do it, but ultimately it's on us to do the work. So for anybody who is listening, before you go and hurt someone that you really don't want to and love, stop and take a minute first and just look in and do the work. Is it them, or is it me, or is it no one? Because sometimes it's nobody. And to be able to recognize that as well. Sometimes it's just a situation and it brings out the worst in you. You know, we are living in this I don't even want to call it a post-pandemic time, because I work in a hospital. We are not post-pandemic, because we still getting patients left and right, related to COVID and other COVID related illnesses. So I'm not going to say we're in post-pandemic, because I see it firsthand. But be able to just look within and figure out what it is that really is. Because times are hard right now. Gas is still high. Food is getting even higher. Bills ain't getting no cheaper. Pay is not getting any, increasing the way it should. So things like all of that can create just sort of like this volatile volcanic effect in many relationships. And that's not something that people, for the most part, can't control. A lot of us, we have to work with what we got, especially as Black people, especially as Black trans people or, POC trans people, that and employment together. And then at the same time, you're trying to find that or maintain that, and then make sure your house is good, sharing it with someone else in this relationship and still showing up and being present in that too. That's a lot. It is a lot. So we have to figure out how are we contributing to that. So don't go just blowing up first, because the person you may need to, hurt, for lack of a better term, or at least whose feelings you need to stomp on, just might be your own. And if that is the case, be fearless enough to actually do it, because it could save it could save the relationship that you want to hold on to, but are in danger of ruining. So that's that.
Hey, this is Sean Aaron. I'm the founder and executive director of Them Boys Inc. I am also the host of Them Boys Podcast. As you may know, Them Boys provides financial assistance to trans men of color in order for them to obtain gender-affirming surgery. We have great news. We're currently looking for volunteers to help support our programs. Our programs include our gender-affirming surgery grant program and also our personal care package program. We personally curate packages filled with personal hygiene items. Just to name a few, things like tissue, soap, towels, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. We mail them out to trans men of color across the country who may be in need of help caring for their personal hygiene needs. We are looking for volunteers to help raise funds to support our programs. Also, we're looking for someone locally to the Bay Area to help us put all of the care packages together. If our mission is something that resonates with you and you would like to help support our work, just let us know. You can send an email to hello@themboys.org. That is HELLO@DEMBOIS.org. And we will get back to you with further details. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the next episode.
When we act out, it's usually because our needs aren't being met, right? It's like a kid. There's those parts of us that are underdeveloped, right? That we haven't matured yet. They haven't evolved yet. Because of trauma, shit that happens in the past just kind of stops us dead in our tracks. And I think those things carry on, into our adulthood and therefore become ingrained in our relationships if we don't do the work. And so, when our needs aren't being met and we're getting activated, ask yourself, what's really going on? Take some time. What is the trigger, and try to find out what the root cause is. And of course, therapy can help with that. I mean, we're all kind of mentioning therapy, therapy, but find somebody that's going to help you actually do the work, not somebody that's just going to take your insurance money or your copay or whatever, and you come back, session after session, there's no changes, there's no progression. I mean, you want to be with somebody, you want to find somebody that you can resonate with, that's going to make you do the work. It's going to really, hold you accountable. So not just any therapy, but then keep people around you that are going to be supportive, but also are going to have healthy boundaries and challenge you, because you don't need to just be around yes people. I think in my younger days, I just wanted to be around people that only thought like me and only agreed with what I agreed with. Now, only listen to the same music, always wanted to go to the same spot. No, that's good to have some of those similarities, but also be with people that are going to challenge you. Be with people that are going to say, do you think that's the best thing? Or when you did that, did you think about X, Y, Z? Maybe you shouldn't take that job because of whatever the case is. Somebody that's going to bring a different perspective and not always just treat you like your shit doesn't stink. because that's how you can get caught up in situations where you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and nobody's calling you out on your BS. And for me, that was the same thing in relationships. I was always attracted to the people that weren't going to tell me when I was doing something fucked up. And so my kind of personality, like, I will run over that personality. I will run over that person. I will consume them. So finally, here I am in this current relationship, and I'm with somebody who will challenge me, who will check me, when I do something fucked up. and I love that. I'm like, oh, okay, I like that. That feels good, because then that keeps me from going down that path where I don't want to be going. And then, we talked about finding safe spaces and finding people that are representative of us. Find those safe spaces. You will find people to connect with, and you'll end up making friends with folks that you can have those deep, meaningful conversations, those conversations about sex, relationships, all the stuff that people think are taboo, all the stuff that people don't want to talk about, mainstream society. Like, give yourself some avenues to reach out to folks, where you can have those conversations and uplift others along the way. Show gratitude. When you're busy showing gratitude, it's really hard to like be down and only think about the negative and have a bunch of built up resentment. Like, it's hard when you just in the middle of the day, you're like, oh shit, what so and so did earlier, that was cool as fuck. Let me send them a little thank you note. Or when I'm at the dinner table, like, let's all go around and share our gratitudes for the day. It's really hard to go to sleep at night angry when you just got through hearing everybody's gratitude share at the dinner table, so that would be the advice that I would have.
My advice would be to be supportive of yourself, locate the trauma, the triggers, go within, face your fears, face the things that you're running from, face the ugly side, face, the hurtful side, what your family did, what you went through when you were 6 years old that you buried so deep that it just became a part of you. And just be honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Love yourself, be supportive of yourself, and be good to you, because when you're good to you, then you can be good to them and you can be good to everyone around you. And like you said, Dallas, that gratitude, be grateful. You don't want to lose out on someone on real love. Like you said, like, it's hard out here. You know what I'm saying? Gas prices high, food's high, rent's getting high. They're not trying to pay us nothing. They don't care about health insurance. It's getting harder for our trans youth period to get therapy, hormone therapy, to play sports. And then they got to deal with it being in abusive homes and, people not eating, the homelessness problem, everything. The world is just crazy. So when you find that somebody, you find your tribe and you attract what you need for your life that's good for you, be good to you so that you can continue to attract it, and be good so you can be good to them, and so that you can keep that loving energy around you. Like, choose you first, choose self-love, choose to heal, choose that journey, and everything will attract perfectly for you.
I think also, just to add a little bit, we talking about if we're in a relationship and we harming another person, I think we also need to look in, and every relationship is not meant to last forever. Some people come in our lives and they just for a season, and some people are for a lifetime. So it's also recognizing that fact too, because you could go through all the therapy you want, you can look inside yourself, and you can do all that, but the reality of it is, hey, maybe this person is just not for me. This relationship, this situation is just not for me. So it's also thinking about that too.
I would say spend time getting to know your body. Read books. Recommendation. It's probably an old recommendation now, but pleasure activism. I think for me, and again, going on the subject of like sex and relationships, I think, and people have echoed it actually in different ways, but at the beginning of my transition, I felt I had to have hormones done in a particular way, a certain type of testosterone. I had to dress in a certain way. I had to speak in a certain way. I had to have surgery by a certain point. I put all this pressure on myself. And later on in my transition, I realized that I didn't actually want lower surgery. That the reason I wanted lower surgery was safety. That when I became, at some point, if I lived that long, if I became an old trans man in a nursing home, would I be safe? took me a long time to get there, but I'm actually at the point now where I'm really happy not having lower surgery. And that's come as a result of, as everyone's spoken about, therapy, but spending time with myself through meditation, sexually. I would also say don't underestimate friendship. I remember there's a point where I put so much pressure on being in a relationship, and it didn't happen. And then the minute I stopped, it happened. And I know that's not necessarily everyone's situation, but I just say don't underestimate friendship. I was in a 6-year relationship, which was brilliant. I learned so much, and that was beautiful to talk about, things being there for a season sometimes. But yeah, I didn't check in with the people closest to me, and some of those relationships, friendships faded away. And I'm at the point now trying to reconnect with those people, but don't underestimate friendships. And yeah, life is tough right now at this point in time, but even if it's a text a month, set a calendar, but just check in with people and try not to isolate yourself, which is easier said than done, but particularly during this winter months, try and create a system of finding ways to stay in touch with people and check in with people.
Be accepting of how relationships what it looks like for everyone, because not everybody's relationship is different. There's no one way to do anything, because as Black people, we're not monolithic. As trans people, we are not, monolithic. And, as anyone who identifies as queer, also not monolithic. Nothing we do is, this one form. But it's, long as it's healthy and it's good, and everybody involved is wanting to do that, then it's completely okay. Be able to be willing to learn from that. I know that because non-monogamy is something that, at least in the trans community, you people have this certain idea of what that is, and then they sort of attach it to us. And I've noticed it also with um, cis gay men, going back to something that was being spoken about earlier, where all we want to do is have sex with people, and you're not really looking for anything long term or anything like that. When in reality, of course, that is very much the opposite. Um, and so they think that's what being non-monogamous is, just going around just fucking whoever. And can't cheat, can't hurt anybody because y'all in a non-monogamous relationship. It's almost like, if the relationship goes bad, told you so, that's what you get for doing that. And I'm just like, no, that's so far from what it is. And that looks so different for everyone, because like anybody else, just like with any other type of relationships, there are levels to that. I have been solo polyamorous before, which is basically not necessarily being in a main relationship with anyone, but having separate relationships with different people whom are not dating each other. It's just me and the connection that I have with them, and they are all separate. That is not the dynamic that I am in now, which I'm still very much learning about. The whole, I don't know, now everybody calls it a throuple or whatever, which sounds like a very funny word, a very funny word to me. But that is the dynamic in which I'm in now, and it's new and it's the first time. But what I noticed is that once I developed this relationship, developed into what it is now, basically going from friends to dating to actually being in an actual committed relationship among the three of us, there was a lot of pushback, mainly from other trans people, mainly from other queer people, because a lot of people were like, doesn't this kind of fall into the stigma, and doesn't this sort of, this sort of plays into the stereotypes? What stereotype? I've not heard this unless somebody brings up, oh, this is a stereotype. From where? Where did that arise, and where did that come from? So instead of getting super pissed off, which I can go from 0 to dragon in really, really fast. I'm learning not to do that. Instead, I'm just like, why don't you just ask us questions? Like, or, it would just be so much easier if you asked. If it's a question that we don't want to answer, we'll tell you, but 9 times out of 10, we have no problem, talking about certain aspects of our relationship. I have no problem speaking about certain aspects of mine. But all of it within the greater scheme of, community is so, it's what, it's part of what makes us unique and vibrant and interesting and dynamic and all of these things that I wholeheartedly believe Black trans men are. We are these amazing, beautiful, powerful, you know, uh, beings um, that are so unique and special. And so, not trying to fit it into we all should be heterosexual or heteronormative and we all have to wear suits and we all have to do this and do that. If you're a Black trans man, you can't be feminine, you can't have any more feminine energy or any of those. But throw all of that out of the box, and because I'm a firm believer that there is someone for everybody. So be able to show up as who you are, exactly who you are. uh there is somebody or a few somebodies out there who want your ass. And they always gonna want your ass. Literally and figuratively, they gonna want your ass. So, don't be afraid to, to flaunt that and really stand firm in that, because that's the most attractive part of it is the confidence.
Thank you for that. So this is the part of the show that I like to ask the guests random questions. And my list is always growing. And so right now I'm at 24 questions. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night in my sleep and I'm like, okay, here's a question. So the question may or may not have anything to do with what we talked about today. But I like to do this when I feel like even though we're in a group discussion, y'all not exempt from my question. So I want to ask you a question. So you just pick a number. We're going to go around, pick a number between 1 and 24, and I read that question, and then you get the answer. Try not to ask the same question, the same number as another person. We want to get different questions. So who want to go first? EL, you want to go first?
Number 10.
Number 10. Number 10 is, who is your celebrity crush?
Ooh. Erica Mena.
Who?
Erica Mena from Love and Hip Hop.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I got a whole list of them. I got about 10, 15 of them I could think about. And every time I get in a relationship, I always tell them, hey, if this one person come up to me and say, Sean, let's roll, I'm leaving your ass. And that one person is Nia Long. So if Nia Long ever listen to this episode, if you want me, hey, I'll leave anybody for Nia Long. All right. Thanks, L. So next person, Kamara, you want to go next?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, number 4. What is your go-to junk food?
Cake.
Just
Yeah.
cake? Any kind of cake? Chocolate cake? Strawberry cake? Just cake?
I'm a cake fiend. Like, I eat it all. Cake and ice cream, cake and custard, cake and you name cake and cake and everything.
All right, cake. All right. I'm not really a cake person, but if you give me a cookie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I'm not really a cake person, but I love cookies. This cookies is my thing for sure. All right. Who want to go next? Samara, you want to go next?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna do 24 for my man Kobe, one of my favorite basketball players. Yeah, the GOAT. Rest in perfection. 24.
I just added this one today. So is, what are you afraid of?
Oh shit. I thought I was gonna get a nice little cookie cake question. Shit, come on now. What am I afraid of? Well, I used to be afraid of growth and change, but now I have to say I'm not afraid of anything, actually. I am in a chapter of my life where I'm facing everything head on because God is my strength. I'm my strength. And what the hell? Like I'm gonna get through it. I know that for sure. So I'm fearless.
Damn, I ain't even got nothing to say to that. I got about 10, 15 things that I'm scared of. So I can't compete with that one. The number one thing that I'm scared of is drowning. That's my number one fear is drowning.
You know, and I used to be afraid of that, but I said if that's how I'm gonna go out, then hey, let it be quick. You know what I'm saying? I even used to be really afraid of spiders, but now I'm not. I'll get them with a broom and I'll put them back outside. I used to kill them. I don't anymore. I believe every animal has a spirit. Everything is nature. Everything's in tune and alive. So, you know, I just face it. It's a mind thing. You know, when you get power in your mind and when you can get grounded in your power, you'll be fine.
I'm scared of spiders too. So.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, the last person, pick a number.
15.
Oh, I like this one. 15 is, if you were stranded on an island, who are the 3 people you would want stranded on that island with you?
Jason Momoa. I know how y'all love. I said that so fast. Like I've never thought about this before at all. Now have I? No.
You were serious, right?
Yeah, with a straight face. Jason Momoa. God, does it have to be 3 other people? Because I mean, if he and I were just there, we'd be good. Lenny Kravitz, because I love him. I love him dearly, and I've loved him for years, and I'm really grateful for the connection that we have. So, Lenny Kravitz, Jason Momoa, and Janelle Monáe. Honestly, I think that'd be a dope. It'd be a pretty dope ass little combination if you really think about it, right? Like all the creatives together.
Come?
Yes.
Can I come?
You said only 3 people, player. So
it's all good.
Sorry,
love
really
it,
not
love
willing
it.
to replace one of them with you, but I appreciate
it. I
appreciate the
love it.
interest.
Hey, thank y'all for being a guest on the show. I appreciate it. Love, sex, and relationships. Wonderful conversation. Take care. Thank you for listening to today's show. Once again, I'm your host. My name is Sean Aaron. Be sure to be sure to share this show out with folks in your networks. If you would like to connect with us, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You can also visit our website at demboys.org. That's DEMBOIS.org. If you think you will make a great guest on the show, or maybe you have a question for myself or a future guest that you would like to hear answered on the show, please send an email to hello@themboys.org. That's HELLO@themboys.org. Until next time, take care.